There is a law richer than money, more potent than inheritance, more enduring than any system devised by man, and it does not reside in vaults nor depend upon banks. It is not housed in coins or contracts. It lives in rhythm, in vibration, in divine authority. This law is not created. It is remembered. It is not earned. It is invoked. And though the world may teach that money is made by the strength of one's hands or the sharpness of their mind, I say unto you, the real wealth is governed by the tongue of spirit, by the decree of truth, by the word which was in the beginning and remains sovereign still. Every billionaire, whether he quotes scripture or never bows in prayer, has moved knowingly or unknowingly under the guidance of this law. They may call it instinct, they may call it confidence, but the wise know its name, divine law, the law that does not consult your resume, the law that is not impressed by toil, the law that does not measure your struggle. It measures only your alignment. And if you are hearing these words, if your spirit has not turned away, if your soul has leaned in instead of shutting down, then you have already been chosen by this law. For the law does not shout, it whispers, and it whispers only to those who are ready to rise. The law does not arrive when your conditions change. It arrives when your consciousness does. It does not wait for your savings to grow. It waits for your speech to align. It does not require credentials. It requires command. And many have spent years building businesses, attending meetings, collecting degrees, believing this to be the path to wealth. But all the while, they ignored the secret that moves behind all movement. They forgot that it is not what man does that brings increase. It is what man knows, and more so, what he speaks. Speech is the unseen channel through which the invisible becomes visible. Your voice is your vessel. Your words are your wand. You see, the myth is this, that wealth is earned through effort, secured through struggle, passed down by legacy. But the truth is simpler and more sacred. Wealth is the echo of law. It is the vibration of divine agreement. It is the result of speaking in rhythm with truth. And though the world may reward the ones who labor, heaven always releases its abundance to the ones who align. This is why the anxious seldom prosper, for they have not yet rested in the rhythm of divine supply. And this is why those who speak the word in faith, calmly, consistently, without apology, draw to themselves treasures the world cannot explain. Beloved, you have not been left out. You have not missed your turn. You are precisely on time for the unfolding of this revelation, for you would not be here now with this message vibrating in your chest, unless you were ready to walk in the law that governs all increase. You have been pulled by something stronger than desire. You have been summoned by a memory within your spirit, a knowing that you are not here to scrape and strive but to speak and receive. You are not here to hustle. You are here to harmonize. You are not here to earn. You are here to announce. And the very moment you accept this not as theory but as divine technology, your atmosphere begins to shift. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. That was not metaphor. That was instruction. You are to speak as the Word. You are to create as the Word. You are to command as the Word. And when your inner climate changes, your outer conditions have no choice but to rearrange. The law does not ask for permission. It moves by decree. And now, you too must decree. So speak not from panic. Speak from position. Declare not from fear. Declare from finality. You do not need a strategy to begin. You only need rhythm. And if your rhythm matches the divine, the law cannot ignore you. The gates that were closed will open. The people who could not see you will begin to hear your name. The supply that once felt distant will rush to greet you. For nothing, absolutely nothing, can resist a voice that speaks in harmony with truth. And now we proceed to the next revelation, the secret hidden not in wealth but in speech. I now speak the word, for the second revelation flows as surely as the river to the sea. The secret is not hidden in what they do, it is hidden in what they speak. Speech is not commentary, it is command. Speech is not opinion, it is divine architecture. Your words build worlds. Your declarations set direction. Your tongue is the tool of spirit and substance obeys its instruction. This is the law the world has forgotten. This is the law that every spiritually rich soul must remember. That the word is the wealth. that speech is the software of substance. You do not need more effort. You need more alignment. You do not need more time. You need more tone. The ones who walk in abundance are not the most tired. They are the most attuned, for they have learned that manifestation is not the child of force, but the child of frequency. And frequency is not manufactured, it is spoken. One word spoken in rhythm with divine truth does more than 10,000 hours of misaligned labor. The man who commands from spirit moves mountains without muscle. The woman who declares from her inner throne shifts timelines without touching them. And you, dear one, have been granted the same authority. When you speak in fear, you scatter your power. When you speak in doubt, you delay your destiny. But when you speak in rhythm, in trust, in spiritual certainty, you become a vessel of divine orchestration. The money you once chased begins to find you. The doors you once knocked upon begin to open before your hand touches the handle. The opportunities that felt far begin to orbit your life as if pulled by invisible gravity. This is not coincidence. This is the law. And the law does not play favorites. It does not reward hustle. It responds to harmony. Every wealthy soul who walks in grace, whether they name the law or not, is obeying it. They may call it mindset. They may call it energy. They may call it vision. But I call it by its rightful name, the Word made manifest. They know, even if not by theology, that what they say shapes what they see. They do not speak from lack. They speak from knowing. Their declarations do not ask for permission. They assume position. And that is why their lives bend to the power of their breath. They are not narrators of fate. They are authors of form. So I tell you now, if your speech is timid, your life will be hesitant. If your words are uncertain, your wealth will be unstable. But when you rise into decree, when you speak not to beg but to install, your whole world begins to rise with you. Because the voice does not just describe your conditions, it arranges them. Your voice is not a reporter of facts, it is a legislator of truth. And the moment you remember this, you stop explaining, you start establishing, you stop hoping, you start hosting, you stop repeating what is, you begin releasing what must now appear. I now speak the word. My voice is divine currency. I send it forth, and it returns in multiplied form. I am not waiting for circumstances to catch up. I am catching fire within. For heaven responds not to appearance, but to agreement, and I agree with wealth. I agree with ease. I agree with increase. I agree with the law. And when you agree with the law agrees with you. It moves your feet to divine appointments. It rearranges the ledger of lack into overflow. It rewrites the story you were handed, and replaces it with the script you were born to speak. There is no virtue in silence, if your spirit is begging to declare. There is no honor in waiting, if the law has already been activated by your rhythm. Say the word and let it go. Say the word and let it build. Say the word and trust that heaven has heard. For what you speak consistently becomes what you live unquestionably. There is no mystery greater than this, and there is no wealth that can outpace the power of one mouth aligned with truth. So I ask you now, what shall you say? Not from the lips of fear, but from the tongue of law. Speak not to describe your past. Speak to install your present. Speak to summon your future. For speech is the software of fortune, and the update begins with your decree. I now speak the word because this is the moment when truth must rise above tradition, when spirit must break the spell of the world's false altar. The world has glorified hustle. It has crowned exhaustion as virtue. It has called busyness a badge of honor and toil a trophy of worth. But I say to you now, hustle is not holy. It is not the rhythm of heaven. It is not the voice of spirit. Hustle is the frantic cry of one who has forgotten their divine position. Hustle is the echo of spiritual amnesia, the noise of someone trying to earn what was already theirs by law. But divine law does not respond to panic. It responds to presence. It responds to decree. It responds to rhythm. You do not hustle. You harmonize. You do not strive. You align. You do not plead for provision. You speak it into form. For there is a cadence to divine abundance, and when you match it, everything begins to move without your effort. Look not at the hands of billionaires. Look at their rhythm, their peace, their posture. They are not trying to get into the room. They are moving as if the room was built for them. That is not arrogance. That is alignment, and that same alignment is yours by divine right. You see, the moment you step out of rhythm and into hustle, you declare with your actions, I do not trust the law. But when you sit in stillness, when you speak with clarity, when you decree without apology, you are saying, I trust what I cannot yet see.
I trust what I've already spoken. I trust the law to obey the voice I've released. The ones who prosper do not sprint toward their good. They draw it to them by frequency. The law is not moved by sweat. It is moved by sound. It is not impressed by your pace. It is activated by your pattern. And once you understand this, once you accept that speed is not the secret, synchronization is, you will feel the chains of hustle fall away. Let me tell you this truth again. There is no crown in burnout. There is no harvest in fear. There is no spiritual honor in dragging yourself through assignments your soul did not authorize. That is not diligence. That is disobedience. True diligence is spiritual fidelity, moving only when the inner voice says go, and waiting when the spirit says rest. The law of abundance is not like the world's economy. It does not reward chaos. It multiplies clarity. And clarity begins with rhythm. It begins when your breath calms, when your tone softens, when your voice carries that sacred certainty that cannot be taught, only remembered.
I now speak the word. I move in rhythm with divine wealth. I no longer chase what is mine. I attract it. I no longer strive. I synchronize. I no longer panic. I decree. And in this decree is the end of struggle and the beginning of flow. When you match the rhythm of the law, you become magnetic. You become like the sun, never running after anything, yet everything revolves around you. This is not fantasy. This is function. This is not superstition. This is spiritual science. Heaven is orderly. The law is precise. It listens not to your effort, but to your echo. So lay down the idol of hustle. Step off the altar of anxiety. You are not here to sacrifice your health for $1. You are not here to abandon your peace in the name of productivity. You are here to govern, to legislate, to decree, to become the vibration that wealth cannot ignore. And once you begin to walk in that identity, not as a worker but as a word, you will find the divine law already waiting to meet you. They will say you've become lucky. They will say you're being unrealistic. But what they don't know is that you've stopped bowing to the world's system. You've stopped asking for what's already yours. You've stopped thinking you must earn what spirit has already endorsed. You now know that harmony is the new hustle, alignment is the new strategy, rest is the new power, and decree is the new labor. You no longer hustle, you harmonize. You no longer try, you tune. And all that you once thought must be chased, now turns and begins to chase you. For the law has heard your rhythm, and wealth always follows the sound of spiritual authority. I now speak the word, for we are entering the realm where the true vault is unlocked, not with keys made of metal, but with sound sculpted in spirit. Your voice is your vault, not your bank account, not your job title, not the family you came from, or the connections you lack. It is your voice that opens the invisible doors, that sends wealth its marching orders, that commands form to rise from the unseen into the seen. And if you have not yet walked in your inheritance, it is not because you are unworthy. It is because you have not yet spoken as one who owns the vault. I say it again with sacred certainty. Your voice is your vault. When you speak in fear, you lock yourself out. When you speak in doubt, you reinforce delay. But when you speak in rhythm with divine law, you unlock realms. You pull heaven into the marketplace. You open channels that were once shut by silence. Your voice is not decoration, it is direction. It is the tone that tells supply where to go. It is the frequency that instructs substance how to behave. And if you are waiting to see before you speak, then you have already missed the door. The wealthy, those who live by divine law, whether they name it or not, speak before the evidence appears. They do not describe what is, they declare what must be. They do not explain reality, they establish it. Their voice is not filled with noise, it is filled with knowing. Their words are not timid, they are tenacious. They don't wonder if they are worthy, they speak as those who remember they were already chosen. That is the vibration of true dominion. That is the tone of spiritual royalty. And it is not far from you, it is already inside you, waiting to be released. I now speak the word. My voice carries the code of my calling. I am not waiting to feel powerful. I am powerful, and I prove it with speech. I do not wait for permission. I grant it with my decree. I am not speaking to impress. I am speaking to install. I am not explaining. I am expanding. and every word I release in rhythm becomes the bridge between my invisible inheritance and my visible experience. You must understand, wealth is not loyal to labor, it is loyal to law, and the law does not respond to hustle, it responds to harmony, it obeys tone, it reacts to certainty. When your voice speaks from spiritual agreement, all of heaven responds. Angels move, doors open, opportunities rearrange, clients appear, contracts materialize, not because you chased them, but because you spoke their instruction. That is the mystery of divine wealth. It is not earned, it is echoed, it is not requested, it is recalled, and you recall it through the rhythm of your word. You have been trained by the world to believe that money is a result of movement, but the truth is, money is a result of resonance, and the one who resonates with divine rhythm walks in overflow without chasing it. Speak now, not from the memory of lack but from the memory of law. You do not beg your vault to open, you announce your voice as the combination, and when the voice and the vibration agree, wealth has no option but to respond. Let your speech carry structure. Let your declarations be precise. Let your words be formed not from fear but from fire. Do not speak as if hoping to be heard. Speak as one who knows the law is already listening. You do not have to shout. You only need to align. Your voice was never meant to plead. It was meant to legislate. The law does not respond to emotion. It responds to rhythm. It answers not the loudest but the clearest. And so, beloved, if you desire to walk in the wealth that belongs to you by divine right, you must stop speaking like a beggar and start speaking like a builder. Stop narrating your problems and start naming your provisions. Stop echoing your doubts and start installing your destiny. Because every word you speak is a vote for the future you inhabit. Every sentence is either an opening or a closure. Every declaration either unlocks or delays. Your voice is the vault, and only you hold the code. I now speak the word, for what flows next is the sacred unveiling of the unseen trinity that every soul must master to walk in divine wealth. It is not found in spreadsheets. It is not taught in seminar halls. It is not buried in business books. It is the billionaire trinity, vibration, vision, and voice. And when these three are aligned, the vault of supply opens. Not with noise, not with effort, but with exactness. For all things obey the soul that vibrates in divine rhythm, sees with spiritual sight, and speaks with the authority of law. Let us begin where all creation begins, with vibration. This is not emotion. It is not mood. It is not excitement. It is the hum of your inner world. It is the climate of your consciousness. It is the invisible current you radiate before you utter a word. The wealthy may never speak of vibration, but they live in it. Their posture, their breath, their walk carries a tone of inevitability. They do not hope for wealth, they expect it. They do not chase outcomes, they attract confirmation. Their baseline is not worry, their baseline is certainty, and wealth hears that hum. Supply responds to that inner signal, because the law is not impressed by what you say occasionally. It is activated by who you are consistently. But vibration without vision is static. The second current in this divine triad is sight, not the kind found in the eyes, but the kind born in the spirit. Vision is not fantasy. It is the blueprint of substance. It is the invisible mold into which all wealth must flow. And those who carry true vision do not see what is. They see what must be. They do not describe lack. They feel abundance even when the table looks empty. They walk into empty rooms and feel clients already seated. They look at unpaid bills and see divine surplus already sent. This is not delusion. It is alignment with the invisible order of divine supply. The visionary is not waiting to be shown. They are already walking in what is written. Their steps are not uncertain, because their sight is not clouded by facts. They do not wait for evidence to validate their direction. They walk in rhythm because they already carry the vision in their chest. That vision becomes their navigation system, their map through the unknown, their inner torch in the darkness. They speak from the future while standing in the present. They are not moved by contradiction, for they know what they've seen is more real than what others have missed. But even with perfect vibration, even with divine vision, the law does not move until the third element arrives, voice. Nothing moves until the word is spoken. Nothing forms until the decree is released. Your mouth is not ornamental. It is instrumental. It is the ignition switch of manifestation. When the tongue speaks from law, the unseen becomes seen. The chaos becomes order. The delay becomes delivery.
Because the tongue is the channel through which vibration and vision are installed into reality. You must speak, not as therapy but as legislation, not to feel better, but to form better, not to hope, but to harmonize. You do not need to speak loudly, you must speak lawfully. You do not need to scream, you must synchronize. The billionaire does not use words as filler, they use words as builders. They do not narrate struggle, they command structure. They don't ask for what's already theirs. They affirm it, declare it, and install it with rhythm. This is not charisma, it is calibration. This is not luck, it is law, and it belongs not only to them, it belongs to you.
So I now speak the word. I am the vibration of divine wealth. I carry the vision of divine inheritance, and I release the voice that opens the vault. I am not outside the law looking in. I am within the law speaking out. My inner frequency commands form. My sight creates the shape. My voice installs the outcome. I do not guess. I govern. I do not chase. I choose. I do not hustle. I harmonize. Beloved, if you will remember this divine trinity, if you will tune your vibration, clarify your vision, and speak with rhythm, the law cannot delay. The law cannot deny. It must obey, not because you are manipulating it, but because you have finally agreed with it. And once agreement is made, creation follows. That is the sacred formula. That is the rhythm the billionaires walk in, whether they name it or not. And now it is yours. I now speak the word, for we have reached the moment where the lie must be replaced with law, where illusion must bow to truth, where the echo of fear must be silenced by the decree of spirit. This is the sacred act of substitution, not as denial, but as dominion. You do not fight darkness, you replace it with light. You do not argue with lack, you override it with law. You do not wrestle the old thought, you substitute it with the decree of divine supply. For this is how the spiritually rich rise, not by resisting the storm, but by replacing the atmosphere with their own weather. Most people live not by truth, but by reaction. They do not build from the word, they replay from the wound. They speak not from spirit, but from fear. And so their life becomes a mirror of their mental echo. They say there's not enough, and the world agrees. They say this always happens to me, and the rhythm repeats. They say I'm trying, and spirit waits, because trying is not law, and law does not move for effort. It moves for authority, and authority is carried not in your feelings, but in your word. You must now become a master of mental substitution. You must hear the lie, and without delay, you must replace it. When your mind says, "What if I fail?" you must speak, "I walk in divine success now." When your heart whispers, "I can't afford that," you must respond, "My supply is unlimited and flowing now." You must catch the old thought mid-breath and flip the switch. You must train your spirit to respond, not react. You must remember that the old speech is not harmless. It is architecture. Every complaint is a blueprint. Every doubt is a floor plan. And every substitution is a renovation of your reality. I now speak the word. I override illusion with truth. I replace fear with law. I substitute worry with wealth. I do not allow lack to finish its sentence. I interrupt it with rhythm. I do not rehearse the story I was handed. I speak the story I was born to tell. I do not wait for peace to appear. I announce its arrival, for I know that the voice is the switch, and law responds to those who speak, not from emotion but from agreement. Substitution is not pretending, it is possession. It is the sacred act of remembering who you are, and speaking from that place even when your eyes cannot yet see. When you substitute truth for terror, you do not deny the fear, you dethrone it. You take it off the altar and return spirit to the throne. And as you do this, not once, not occasionally, but rhythmically, habitually, spiritually, you rewrite the rhythm of your entire life. The rich are not merely resourced, they are rehearsed. Watch them, listen. They do not entertain defeat. They substitute it before it forms. They do not explain scarcity. They cancel it mid-thought. They are not waiting for things to get better. They are making things better by the rhythm of their declarations. And the moment you do the same, you will feel it. Your nervous system will respond. Your environment will bend. The patterns will begin to shift. Because law never fails. It only waits to be obeyed. Substitution is your sword. Use it swiftly. Use it boldly. Use it even when your voice shakes, especially then, if the lie says you are running out. Say, I overflow by divine design. If the echo says you don't know what to do, say, divine wisdom flows through me now. Don't explain. Don't argue. Just replace. Speak as one who governs with grace. Declare as one who no longer borrows words from the world, but installs new law from within. And remember this, the more you substitute, the more you build. The more you build, the more you rise. You are not correcting your life, you are commanding it. You are not managing lack, you are replacing it. You are not pleading for truth, you are embodying it. Every thought is a builder, every sentence is a structure, every substitution is a step into sovereignty. And now you speak, not from history, but from heaven. I now speak the word, for what follows is the revelation that has been hidden in plain sight, the divine law that exposes the error of culture and corrects the direction of the soul. You have been told that prosperity is earned, that wealth is the reward of struggle, that success is the prize given to the most loyal servant of time. But I tell you now with the full authority of Spirit, this is not divine law, this is doctrine of dust, this is the gospel of grind, not the gospel of grace. It is the myth that enslaves and delays. It is the lie that wealth is man-made, when in truth it is God-given. You do not earn divine abundance, you allow it. Prosperity is not wages for your effort, it is a mirror of your alignment. The spiritually rich do not chase checks, they carry covenant. They are not waiting for promotion, they are expressing provision. Their prosperity is not a reward, it is a reflection. They are not worthy because they worked harder. They are overflowing because they remembered the law. And that law says prosperity is permitted, not earned. The one who hustles believes he must qualify himself for blessing. The one who aligns knows he is already approved by divine right. The law does not deposit riches into the hands of the most exhausted. It flows into the life of the one who knows how to receive. And receiving is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is knowing the difference between labor and law. It is choosing spiritual dominion over societal programming. It is walking through doors with a decree instead of dragging chains of unworthiness behind you. I now speak the word prosperity is my inheritance. I am not here to earn what is already mine. I am here to reveal it. I am not negotiating with money. I am embodying it. I do not seek supply. I host it. I do not chase provision. I carry the frequency that commands it. And I do not feel guilt for what flows to me in ease, for ease is the evidence of alignment. You must unlearn the language of the laborer and speak the rhythm of the ruler. The laborer says, I must do more to have more. But the ruler says, I speak as one who already possesses. The laborer waits for a raise. The ruler raises their vibration. The laborer begs for opportunity. The ruler opens their mouth and speaks doors into being. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. And heaven honors alignment over hustle every time. You were not born to be a servant to systems. You were born to steward wealth as a son or daughter of spirit. You were not placed on this earth to prove your worth through sweat and sacrifice. You were placed here to walk in the rhythm of divine overflow. The rich in spirit do not fear the rising tide. They know they are the tide. They do not wonder where the resources will come from. They know resources obey their voice. They do not question if the blessing is for them. They say, of course it is. It has my name written upon it from before I arrived. You must now give yourself divine permission, not tomorrow, not when the bank account looks better, not when the approval comes. Now is the moment to stop seeking to deserve and start standing in decree. Now is the moment to stop chasing and begin choosing. Say it even now. I give myself permission to prosper. I no longer delay my arrival. I do not resist divine surplus. I allow it. I invite it. I expect it. Beloved, the moment you stop begging for what is already yours, is the moment the law begins to flow without restriction. You are not meant to suffer your way into abundance. You are meant to speak your way into the rhythm that brings it forth. There is no virtue in poverty. There is no holiness in lack. These are not spiritual badges. They are distortions of divine inheritance. And the moment you drop them, the moment you lift your voice in rhythm and say, I receive, all that was held up begins to move. You were not born to hustle. You were born to harmonize. You were not placed on earth to earn. You were sent to express. And when you live by the law of permission, you become magnetic, not because you are trying, but because you have finally stopped resisting what was always seeking you. I now speak the word,
for what comes next is the unveiling of the master key, the law of command. This is the law that governs all who walk in visible wealth and invisible certainty. It is the law that moves substance without struggle, that shapes reality without resistance, that reorders conditions without counsel. And it is not hidden, it is not reserved for the elite, it is available to all who dare to speak, not from fear, but from authority. The spiritually rich do not wish, they declare. They do not request, they install. They do not ask timidly, they command boldly. And when they command, the law obeys, not because they are louder, but because they are aligned. The law of command is not volume, it is vibration. It is not performance, it is positioning. It is not a spiritual experiment, it is a spiritual fact. And when you speak from divine certainty, not emotional pleading, you begin to move in the rhythm that shapes worlds. You begin to install order into the chaos. You begin to govern, not just cope. For the one who commands from spirit is no longer hoping to be seen. They know they are the light, and the world rearranges itself not to grant them favor, but to reflect their decree.
I now speak the word. I command riches to appear in divine order. I command doors to open that no man can shut. I command every divine supply to locate me now. I do not plead, I proclaim. I do not wonder, I witness. I do not explain, I establish. For the word is the seed, and the word is the sword. It plants and it cuts, it births and it binds, and when spoken in law, it is the only tool required. Beloved, the law does not move when you are desperate. It moves when you are deliberate. It does not bend to anxiety. It aligns with authority. And authority is not pride. It is permission. It is remembering that you were never meant to chase what you were born to carry. That you are not here to wait on the sidelines of life for approval. You are here to speak from your throne, to decree with the cadence of royalty, to release the word that cannot return void. The spiritually mature do not use words carelessly. They understand their voice is the activator. They are not conversationalists. They are creators. They speak, and matter moves. They speak and timing shifts. They speak and timelines collapse into miracles. Their life is not the product of hustle. It is the product of command. And the moment you begin to speak as they do, not mimicking, but remembering, you too will walk in the same ease, the same access, the same divine orchestration that the world calls luck, but heaven calls law. Let me be clear. The law of command is not manipulation. It is synchronization. It is not forcing your way. It is flowing with your way. And the way is already made. The path is already paved. The supply is already stored. And your command is the signal that releases it. You are not creating from scratch. You are pulling from spirit. And when you say, I now receive, the gates respond. When you say it is done, the invisible begins to shape the visible. When you say, I have spoken, creation no longer waits, it moves. You must now rise from the realm of suggestion and enter the rhythm of decree. You must stop speaking as one who is asking for scraps and start speaking as one who owns the vault. You must stop narrating delays and start installing destiny. The law of command does not wait for everything to look right. It begins when you decide that your tongue is no longer a tool for panic, but a pillar of power. Say it with me now. I command as one who remembers. I decree as one who reigns. I speak not for therapy, but for transformation. I release the word and it runs before me. It gathers my good. It clears my path. It multiplies my storehouse. And it will not return void, because the law cannot break itself. Speak again, not because you doubt, but because you believe. Speak again, not to beg, but to install. Speak again, not with fear, but with fire, and watch how the law does not delay. It responds, not in time, but in tone. For when the voice of spirit is heard in your mouth, all of heaven is set in motion. I now speak the word, for what must be removed from the mouth must first be removed from the mind. There are phrases the world has normalized, but heaven has never authorized. Sentences spoken 1,000 times without thought, and yet they carry the vibration of limitation, the echo of exile, the spell of spiritual amnesia. These are not merely words, they are covenants. They are unconscious contracts that tie the soul to lack and train the tongue to expect delay. And while the masses speak them freely, the spiritually wealthy do not. Not because they are better, but because they are bound by law, not by culture. The law responds to your word, not your need, not your tears, not your good intentions. It listens to your decree, and only your decree. And when you repeat the language of defeat, you agree with it, and agreement is power, even when unconscious. So the wealthy in spirit, those who understand law, do not speak like the world speaks. They do not flirt with lack in their vocabulary. They do not romance the rhythm of fear with familiar phrases. They exile the unlawful speech from their language, because they know every word spoken becomes the soil of their experience. I now speak the word. I remove the unlawful phrases from my speech. I do not say I can't afford it. I say if it is mine by divine law, the means will appear. I do not tie my identity to a condition. I tie my expectation to covenant. I do not say I'm trying my best. That is not decree. That is delay. I say I have decided, because trying is the language of hesitation, and decision is the language of the throne. The phrase "let's hope this works" may sound humble, but it is spiritually hollow. Hope without law is drift. It gives no instruction to the universe. It sends no signal to supply. The spiritually rich do not hope in uncertainty. They decree in rhythm. They say it is done. They say this works because I have spoken it in alignment with truth. They don't wish for results. They expect them not from pride but from position. Another phrase the soul must exile is "this always happens to me." Oh, how seductive that one is. Spoken in a tone of complaint, it repeats the very thing you're trying to escape. The law does not hear your frustration. It hears your frequency, and if you say it always happens, it must continue. The spiritually awakened say instead, that was the old rhythm. I now walk in new law. Favor now repeats. Goodness now returns. They interrupt the pattern with the power of speech, and perhaps the most poisonous of all, I don't know what else to do. It sounds honest, but it is dangerous. It denies the divine mind within you. The spiritually rich never speak as if guidance is absent. They declare, I am being shown the next step. Wisdom floods my path. I am led by divine order. You are never without direction. You are never abandoned. The moment you declare that guidance exists, it rises to meet you. These 5 phrases, though casual to the ears of the world, are treason in the kingdom of law. They cut off supply. They disempower speech. They distort identity. And the moment you remove them, the atmosphere around you begins to clear. The fog of confusion lifts. The vibration of stagnation breaks. And law moves again, freely, swiftly, obediently. Beloved, the tongue is not ornamental. It is legislative. You are not here to narrate. You are here to authorize. You are not here to echo fear. You are here to override it. Speak only what the law can fulfill. Declare only what the covenant supports. And let your daily speech be a sacred act of alignment. Say now with spiritual fire, I no longer echo the world. I speak as the wealth of God. My declarations are lawful. My speech is rhythm. My voice carries the pattern of overflow. I have buried the old phrases. They no longer live in my atmosphere. They no longer shape my life. My word is law in motion, and it cannot return void. I now speak the word, for what must rise next is the law that governs the very blueprint of reality, the law of thought. For thought, beloved, is not opinion. It is not reaction. It is not the mental noise that dances on the surface of the mind. Thought is spiritual speech. It is silent decree. It is the rhythm of the invisible that precedes every visible thing. Before you see it in your hand, you held it in your head. Before it manifested in your life, it pulsed through the current of your consciousness. And so I say to you now with divine certainty, if your thought is not lawful, your world cannot be. Most do not think. They remember. They replay. They echo the voices of parents, teachers, old wounds and cultural noise. They think they are deciding, but they are only defaulting. They believe they are dreaming new dreams, but they are merely recycling old fears. And so they wonder why nothing changes, why their affirmations feel empty, why their speech lacks fire. It is because the inner world is still ruled by mental vagrants, by thoughts that do not belong to divine law. But the spiritually rich do not think in reaction. They think in rhythm. Their thoughts are not commentary. They are command. I now speak the word.
My thoughts are lawful. My thoughts are sovereign. My inner speech is aligned with divine substance. I think not as the world has taught me, but as heaven remembers me. I do not imagine defeat. I imagine decree. I do not rehearse disaster. I rehearse dominion, for every thought I entertain becomes a builder of my experience, and I no longer allow the architects of lack to design my days. Beloved, you cannot drink from polluted waters and expect to be nourished. In the same way, you cannot entertain polluted thoughts and expect divine wealth. You must evict the inner saboteurs. You must cast out the inner critic. You must silence the inherited limitations with chosen declarations. This is the work of the metaphysical ruler, not to control the outer, but to legislate the inner. When the thought says you're behind, you answer, I move in divine timing. When the echo says there's not enough, you say my supply is spiritual and cannot run dry. You do not argue with illusion, you override it with truth. The law of thought is not abstract, it is exact. Your mental atmosphere sets the climate of your life. Your dominant thought is your spiritual thermostat, and the wealthy in spirit have mastered this climate. They do not allow unworthiness to hover. They do not host hesitation. They do not indulge in what if it doesn't work. Instead, they declare silently, it is already done. They walk through boardrooms and marketplaces and phone calls with the rhythm of knowing. Their thoughts are clear. Their inner court is at peace. Their mind is not an open door, it is a throne room. You too must take your seat there. You must think not toward wealth, but from it. You must think not as a seeker, but as one who has already been answered. You must think not in panic, but in pattern. For when your thought agrees with law, your world must follow. It has no choice. Reality does not originate from the facts, it obeys the frequency of thought. And when that thought is bathed in law, the facts must shift to align. So I now speak the word. I think as law thinks. I host the rhythm of spirit in my mind. I no longer make room for worry. I no longer give voice to doubt. My thoughts speak before my mouth, and what they say is power, peace, and provision. I think in divine pattern. I meditate in sacred rhythm. My mental climate is not chaotic, it is creative. And now I say this to you, do not just guard your mouth, guard your mind. For your thoughts are the foundation, the blueprint, the decree behind the decree. And if you would build a house of riches, you must first evict the echoes of poverty. You must no longer tolerate thoughts that spirit would never speak. You must align the inner and the outer, the seen and the silent. And when you do, when your inner decree matches your spoken command, the law will move with unshakable precision. I now speak the word, for what comes next is not suggestion, it is sacred formula. It is the revelation of rhythm, the unfolding of decree, the ignition of destiny through daily declaration. For while the world rushes to gather facts and timelines and strategies, the spiritually rich understand that wealth is not born in the hand, it is born in the word. And not just any word, but the word spoken in law, spoken in rhythm, spoken in spiritual finality. This is why I now give you 7 declarations, not to inspire, but to install, not to decorate your thinking, but to drive your manifestation. These declarations are not hopes, they are keys. They are not therapy, they are truth. And when spoken with rhythm, not once, not weekly, but boldly, daily, lawfully, they become your new atmosphere, your new standard, your new command center. They override the noise, they install the wealth, they summon the supply. For every phrase is a blueprint, and every repetition is a hammer that builds the palace of your next dimension.
I now speak the word. I align with the rhythm of divine wealth. I no longer vibrate with fear. I no longer move in the rhythm of scarcity. My inner hum is that of abundance. My steps match the beat of spiritual supply. I am in tune with overflow. I do not disrupt the current. I become it. And all that flows from spirit now flows to me easily, fully, lawfully. The second declaration, I no longer seek, I allow. I am not a beggar in the marketplace. I am the beloved of divine supply. I do not chase, I receive. I do not grasp, I open. I do not strive, I surrender. Not in weakness, but in wisdom, for I know that what is mine has already been written, and what is written in law cannot be withheld. The third, I speak the word. My words are containers of increase. Every sentence I speak holds structure. Every declaration I release shapes the invisible. My language is not casual, it is creative. My vocabulary is not commentary, it is construction. I do not throw words into the air. I build realms with them. I do not fill silence. I form substance. I speak only what law can fulfill. The fourth, every resource obeys my frequency. I do not convince money. I command it. I do not negotiate with clients. I summon those aligned. I do not hunt for provision. I vibrate in rhythm with it. And as surely as the stars follow their course, so do my resources move toward my decree. The world is not waiting for me to chase. It is waiting for me to signal. The fifth, I speak now. Wealth comes to me because I command it lawfully, not through effort, through echo, not through performance, through proclamation. I no longer whisper requests. I release decree, and that decree, once aligned with spiritual law, returns to me fulfilled, not someday, now, not partially, abundantly. The sixth, I do not chase. I reveal. I am not becoming wealth. I am unveiling it. I am not running after success. I am removing the veil. I am not trying to prove I'm worthy. I am expressing what has always been true. I am the manifestation of divine wealth. My life is not a climb, it is a revelation. And the seventh, the seal of all command. What I say appears. What I do not say cannot. My life is a reflection of my word. My experience is the child of my decree. If it is absent, it is silent. If it is present, it is because I have spoken. I speak not from doubt, but from destiny. I declare not as a wish, but as law. My tongue writes the future, and the law fulfills its script. These seven are not poetry. They are prophecy. They are to be spoken daily, not because the law needs reminding, but because you do. Not because heaven is hard of hearing, but because your frequency must be tuned. So rise each morning and speak them into the air, into your bones, into your atmosphere. Let them become your breath. Let them become your background. Let them replace the idle chatter of fear and write the rhythm of fortune into your day. I now speak the word. I do not repeat these declarations to feel powerful. I repeat them because I am powerful. I do not say them for comfort. I say them for conquest. I speak them because the law listens, the substance obeys, the doors respond, and the unseen realm waits for the rhythm of the one who has remembered. Speech is not noise, it is law. I now speak the word, for we have reached the unveiling of a sacred contrast, one that separates the many from the few, the imitators from the initiators, the striving from the sovereign. There is a frequency that does not merely attract riches, but radiates dominion. It is not a number in the bank. It is not a metric on a chart. It is not something you can buy, borrow, or beg for. It is something you become. It is the billionaire frequency, and it is not defined by decimal points. It is defined by vibration. It is not measured in digits. It is revealed in decree. The millionaire mindset prepares for wealth, but the billionaire frequency possesses it before it arrives. The millionaire says, I hope I can keep this. The billionaire says, this multiplies by law. One holds wealth tightly with fear. The other holds it lightly with faith. One reacts to money as if it might disappear. The other governs it as a faithful servant. And the difference, beloved, is not effort, it is essence. I now speak the word. I do not wait for wealth to prove itself to me. I prove myself to the word. I do not build from scarcity. I build from source. I do not accumulate to feel secure. I command as one who already is. My wealth is not a destination, it is my vibration. My dominion is not pending, it is present. The billionaire frequency does not wait to be invited, it announces. It does not hesitate in decisions, it decrees them. It does not bow to circumstances, it causes them. It walks into rooms with calm certainty, not because of arrogance but because it remembers. It remembers its origin is divine. It remembers that law responds to frequency, not to fame. That vibration precedes visibility. That wealth does not arrive to make you believe, and so it arrives. Beloved, the billionaire frequency does not wonder how, it remembers who. It does not ask when, it declares now. It does not seek signs, it gives them. And when you speak from this frequency, the world bends not because you demanded, but because you declared. The invisible realm shifts, the doors swing open, the gatekeepers move aside, not for the person, but for the presence, for the sound of authority, for the vibration of law in motion. I now speak the word, I am billionaire frequency and form. I do not shrink to be accepted. I expand to fulfill assignment. I do not ask to be chosen. I move as one already commissioned. I do not second-guess my value. I embody the vault. I am not accumulating to feel worthy. I am commanding because I am already crowned. This frequency is not something the wealthy discover by accident. They walk in it by law. Whether they name it or not, they live by it. And when you shift from hoping to harmonizing, from strategy to sovereignty, you begin to live by it too. You stop wondering where the money will come from and start organizing what it must now serve. You stop measuring your worth by your earnings and start declaring your earnings must match your vibration. It is not about what they have, it is about what they know. They know the voice is the vault. They know the tongue is the tool. They know speech is not for performance, it is for placement. And this is your invitation, not to copy their moves, but to calibrate your frequency, not to hustle for their wealth, but to remember your own. Say it with me now. I do not chase money. I move as its master. I do not seek fortune. I reveal it. I do not pray to be proven. I speak because I am positioned. I carry billionaire frequency, not because I strive but because I align, not because I perform but because I remember. And the law must obey my voice, for my voice is now the voice of the word. I now speak the word, for what follows is the remembrance that changes everything, not by force but by function. You are not here to wonder if the law works. You are here to walk as one who works the law. And the law works not for the anxious, nor for the desperate, nor for the endlessly preparing. The law works for the one who speaks, and not just speaks but speaks with authority, with rhythm, with alignment. The voice is the vessel, the voice is the vault, the voice is the very frequency that shapes your world. And what makes a soul truly wealthy is not found in their portfolio, but in their proximity to this truth. Look not at what a person has, but at how they speak. Watch not how they perform but how they decree. The truly rich do not walk in panic. They walk in placement. They do not ask the world to give them anything. They speak to the world as if it must comply. Not from arrogance, from alignment. Not to impress, but to install. They move as the word in motion, for they know their very voice is divine instruction sent forth. I now speak the word. My voice does not report my conditions, it rewrites them. My word is not casual, it is causal. What I speak is not commentary, it is code. When I say let there be, heaven echoes. When I declare it is done, time reorganizes. When I speak in rhythm with divine law, what was delayed becomes immediate, what was invisible becomes evident, and what was impossible becomes instruction. You must understand, this is not theory. This is how worlds are formed. This is how substance is summoned. This is how spirit becomes structure. The word goes before you, and the law follows it. So if you do not yet see your wealth, do not panic. Speak again. If the doors have not yet opened, do not beg. Speak again. If the contract has not arrived, the client has not called, the account is not yet full, do not retreat. Speak again. Speak until the air around you thickens with divine readiness. Speak until the law cannot ignore your frequency. Speak until the substance has no choice but to obey your decree. Beloved, you are not late. You are not locked out. You are not lacking. You are simply unspoken. The law has not failed you. It is awaiting instruction. It is listening for your tone. And the moment your tone matches truth, the vibration begins to move. The moment your voice stops asking for what is already yours and begins installing what must now appear, the shift begins. For nothing responds more quickly than a world governed by divine command. I now speak the word. I no longer ask to be seen. I no longer wait to be chosen. I no longer whisper in fear. I speak from fire. I speak from finality. I speak from the throne, not from the threshold. I do not delay my destiny by second-guessing my voice. My voice is my permission. My voice is my placement. My voice is the gate through which wealth walks in. You are not here to test if this is real. You are here to remember that this is the only real thing. The world will teach you to gather more data. The world will train you to overthink, to overplan,
to over-hustle, but divine law says, speak, and the moment you speak in rhythm, everything changes. You no longer build wealth, you reveal it. You no longer strive for riches, you embody the vault. You no longer hope for support, you walk as one already sent, already funded, already fulfilled. So now speak, not later, not when you feel ready, now. Speak not because the world asked, speak because the law must obey. Speak because silence is no longer an option. Speak because your voice is no longer confused, it is crowned. Speak because you are not here to survive, you are here to install heaven on earth. And it begins not with strategy, it begins with sound. Speak now, and the law will move. I now speak the word, for we have reached the final unveiling, the divine conclusion that is not an end, but a beginning. A sacred door opens now, not outward, but inward. You stand not before a finish line, but before the gateway of your own remembrance. The world may call it success, spirit calls it alignment. The world may say you made it, but heaven whispers, you remembered. And that remembrance is not of effort, it is of essence. You are not becoming a future millionaire, you are awakening the one you've always been.
For the law does not favor those who wait, it flows to those who walk. It does not crown those who hope, it responds to those who decree. And as I speak this word into your atmosphere, I am not giving you motivation, I am installing movement. I am not handing you theory, I am handing you a key. The key that unlocks not just wealth, but wealth with rhythm, riches with rest, prosperity with peace. And that key is within your voice. You have now seen the signs. You have felt the resonance. You have heard the word echo within your own soul. This video, this message, this vibration, it did not come to you by chance. It was drawn by your decree. Even the click, the timing, the scroll, none of it was random. It was law in motion, delivering to you what your inner decree had already called forth. Because the future millionaire is not someone else, it is you. Not someday, not if the economy allows, not if the opportunity appears. Now, if you can speak the word, you can shape the world. If you can release the law will release your wealth. I now speak the word. I am the fulfillment of divine prophecy. I am the demonstration of the word made manifest. I am not separate from the riches I seek. I am the vibration that commands them. I am not climbing toward wealth. I am revealing it through rhythm. I do not hope to arrive. I declare that I have. I do not wait for permission. I speak the law and walk through the gates. Beloved, the game is not to prove, it is to remember. The mission is not to earn, it is to embody. You are not competing for favor, you are carrying it. And the wealth you once believed was for the few, for the lucky, for the chosen, is yours by divine right. All that remains is that you speak, think, and move as one who is no longer guessing, no longer testing, no longer hesitating. The law does not hesitate when it hears your name. Why should you hesitate when you hear your own? You are not late. You are not unqualified. You are not blocked. You are ready. You are aligned. You are divine rhythm in form. And as you rise from this moment, as you speak your next word, may it not be borrowed from fear, or delay or doubt. May it be born from authority. May it carry the fire of remembrance. May it shake the atmosphere and summon the supply. Say it now, with every cell, every breath, every ounce of faith. I am the word in motion. I am the wealth revealed. I am the future, fulfilled now. I am the rhythm of divine overflow. I am the one the law has been waiting for. I do not question what is mine. I claim it. I do not tiptoe toward truth. I stand in it. I do not wait for signs. I become the signal. This is your moment. This is your message. This is the movement of wealth in human form. Speak now. Move now. Command now. For the law is not sleeping. It is listening. And it is waiting to echo back what you dare to declare. You are not hoping for wealth. You are hosting it. You are not finding this message. You are fulfilling it. So I will ask one final thing of you, not as a viewer, but as a lawkeeper. Write it in the comments. Say it aloud. Declare it in your room, in your car, in your spirit. Let every cell in your body rearrange itself around this declaration. I now live by the secret law and subscribe not to hear more content, but to enter into covenant. This space is not for spectators, it is for rulers. It is for remembers. It is for those who know that heaven has already issued the supply, and all that's left to do is speak the command that sets it free. Now rise, say it, walk in it, and remember forever it wasn't just a video, it was the law choosing you. And it is done.